What's up, my history buffs? Today we're going to be taking a journey into the past. The reason I'm in my car is because my dog peed in my room, and it smells very bad. But you're not taking a test on my life. No, sir. Today you're going to be learning about Congress's role during and after the War of Northern Aggression, also known as the Civil War. Now, you might remember the Civil War from 8th grade history class, but in case you forgot, the Civil War happened due to tensions that were rising about slavery and other sectional divides, which bubbled over in the 1860 election, causing 11 states to secede within 12 months. During the war, the Republicans dominated Congress and took action to support the war effort. Controlling 60% of the House and Senate due to the split Democratic Party, much like my marriage, the Republicans were able to pass through important legislation. Congressman James G. Blaine stated, "Congress played an important role in deciding the outcome of this struggle. It passed legislation increasing the Union Army and Navy, and it enacted the nation's first federal income tax. Later, Congress ended slavery in the District of Columbia and created a Freedmen's Bureau which assisted former slaves." The Capitol is also busy with its own troubles. During the war, while Washington, D.C. became a vast encampment, troops were trained on the Capitol grounds and were briefly quartered in the House and Senate chambers. The Capitol basement became an army bakery. Most impressively, work on the unfinished Capitol dome continued despite the cost. Its completion became a symbol of union, visible even in the darkest days of war. Incredible stuff right there. Thanks you, James G. Blaine. I appreciate you. The radical Republicans first met opposition in President Lincoln, who proposed his 10% plan, requiring 10% of the Southern voters to take a Pledge of Allegiance to the Union, which Congress thought was too soft. Congress counter-proposed with the Wade-Davis bill, upping the percentage from 10 to 50. President Lincoln let the bill expire without passing, much like the time when I let the milk expire because it was 2% and I like half and half. Unfortunately, after President Lincoln's extermination, conflicts between the legislative and executive branch continued, resulting in clashes between the rad Republicans' wishes and President Johnson's Southern leniency policies. Here's a reenactment of the bitter fighting performed by professional actors.
"We have to be lenient on the South and welcome them back into the Union to ensure quick healing."
No, we must make it hard for them so that they do not try to do this again.
After the civilian war ended, the issue of what to do with the recently freed slaves who had no specialized skills or economic independence and experience was brought up. Thus, the Freedmen's Bureau was created. The Freedmen's Bureau was an organization designed to provide food, clothing, housing, and education to recently emancipated slaves. They were heavily underfunded, so they were ineffective. However, they did manage to teach around 200,000 freed slaves how to read. Congress had to discontinue the organization after 7 years due to just general ineffectiveness. In order to ensure that the South complied with Northern legislature, the South was split into 5 distinct military zones in which only approved voters could submit ballots. Talk about favoritism. As life imitates art, so too do our trained professional actors imitate this moment in history. Naturally, the results were majority Republican since freed slaves were voting, which really rustled the jimmies of local Southerners, which led to the creation of the KKK and the formation of Redeemer governments, which sought to restore the South to its former glory. As soon as Union troops were pulled out, old political figures retook power, which sought to restore blacks as suppressed slaves. They were denied political rights, such as the right to vote, and were forced into harsh work contracts with their former owners in which they couldn't opt out. If only Karl Marx had spread his communist ideas before, this never would have happened, am I right? After the Redeemer governments were set up and the southern states sent their elected officials to Congress, the radical Republicans were very angry, so they denied every single one of the delegated officials, which was within their power. Now, we can't exactly see how it all went down, but we can get pretty damn close, due to our professional actors doing a perfect job replicating the event. Congress played a key role in giving blacks social and political rights by passing the 13th, 14th, and, you probably guessed, 15th Amendments, which gave all blacks equality under the eyes of the law and gave all men the right to vote. Not women, though. Funny thing is, Congress originally passed the 14th Amendment as the Civil Rights Bill, but Johnson thought he'd be a cheeky boy and deny its passage. So, Congress played his life and passed the Civil Rights Bill as the 14th Amendment, which President Johnson had no ability to control. Once again, our professional actors have done a great job imitating this conflict. Let's take a look.
I have an idea. The Civil Rights Bill.
No.
Let's pass it as the 14th Amendment.
Good idea.
Through overturning President Johnson's attempt to deny legislation, Congress passed the Reconstruction Act of 1867, which finally allowed blacks to be represented in Congress. Hiram Revels was the first black person that was ever elected to Congress. Impressive, Hiram Revels. Keep it up. I'm proud of you. You're gonna have to forgive me, but I just got a text from my mom saying that dinner's on the table. I'm very hungry, and she made mashed potatoes, so I'm gonna go eat. Be right back. All this was done in opposition to President Johnson, who sought more lenient policies for the South. Veto after veto, Congress overruled President Johnson. Finally, through the Tenure of Office Act, Congress found reason to impeach President Johnson. After an intense trial in the Senate, President Johnson escaped impeachment by a mere one vote, that dirty rat. Unfortunately, due to opposition from the South and the President, the Radical Republic's mission of punishing the South and achieving equality for slaves just died, much like President Lincoln did 12 years earlier. It also didn't help that one of the forerunners in the Radical Republicans' cause, Thaddeus Stevens, was a kaput. After some questionable results giving Rutherford Hayes the nomination for president in 1876, the South was granted the Compromise of 1877, removing all Union troops from the South, thus prematurely ending Reconstruction. That's all for today, History Buffs. Make sure if you enjoyed to like, comment, subscribe, share, rate 5 stars, Snapchat, Instagram, make a funny meme about, mention to one of your friends, or anything else that gets me more publicity.
Falling on the Western Front.
Mention to one of your friends, or anything else that gets me more publicity.
Yeah, I think that was good enough for an A.